VSiN's own Zachary Cohen put together an interesting article in the guide as well called NFL MVP Chatter, and kind of breaks down different perspectives and angles you can take when you're looking at the MVP market. Chalk worth a look, dark horses for consideration. So figure we can give you a little preview flavor of what to expect in the guide with our discussion of the MVP awards market, where things sit right now. Mike, Patrick Mahomes, he's got 2 MVPs to his name in the last 5 years. He's your favorite to repeat at 7-1. Joe Burrow there as well, both around at BetMGM plus 650, DraftKings 7-1, that range. Josh Allen close behind at plus 750, and Justin Herbert at 9-1. So the big arm players there atop the MVP odds right now, but there are a lot of places to look.
Yeah, I mean, those are the 4 most logical guys when you're looking at it. If you look at the past precedent of what it takes to win an MVP award, you have to combine player success with team success, and then you have to have the narrative. You do not see very many back-to-back MVP winners. Aaron Rodgers the last, but he was only the second in NFL history to go back-to-back with the MVP award. And traditionally, you got to be a quarterback. So when you're looking at these type of markets, to me, you got to look at the narrative. Who can be a number 1 or number 2 seed in their conference, and who are the quarterbacks on those teams that can put up points and put up numbers and hold down the interception number, because that's been one thing we've consistently seen here. You can't throw more than 10 interceptions if you want to win the MVP. So who is not going to throw interceptions? Who's going to throw a lot of touchdowns and be that 1 or 2 seed? And we don't see it all that often be the kind of crazy long shot quarterback either, because you really don't have any teams that generally end up in the 1 or 2 seeds that come from out of nowhere. I think it's a little interesting in the NFC this year. And if I was looking for a price, that's where I would head, because it feels like the AFC and the top 4 all AFC quarterbacks is going to be pretty chalky at the top. On the NFC, I think you have a lot more turmoil that you could run into, which gives some of those quarterbacks a better chance to cash at long odds.
Those were some good points, though, just to sum up the types of guys you should be looking at, not only from a conference standpoint, but player success with team success, the quarterback's touchdown to interception ratio, narrative as well. Speaking to it being a quarterback, the last non-quarterback to win was Adrian Peterson in 2012. Before that, LT in 06. So quarterback is the way you should look. If you're looking for a skill position player, go to offensive player of the year. That's going to be the market where you'll find the success there. As it pertains to that NFC side of things, then, who are some names that really stood out to you?
There were 3 that jumped out to me, and they're all a little bit wonky here, but I'm going to go off the board and try and find a big price. The first one, Geno Smith up in Seattle. I think this Seattle team has a legitimate shot of winning the division and possibly even the conference. If you look at their schedule, they're set up well in both games against San Francisco, one off the bye, the other a Thursday night game at home against San Francisco. If they're able to win both of those, they should be able to beat the Rams at least once and sweep the Cardinals. You go 5-1 in division. You have a chance of putting together a very, very good season. And if you look at Geno Smith, he started out hot. He kind of cooled off a little bit back half of the year, but he got the nod of confidence there with the contract up in Seattle. And let's not forget they added Smith and Jigba here too. And they've got a good running game. This is a team that could put up a ton of points, has a solid defense, and the NFL style fits Geno Smith's play. He is someone who, when you play that too high shell and you force him to check it down, he's happy to do it. He's happy to find his weapons underneath and have a high completion percentage, low number of interceptions, a high number of touchdowns. So he's one of those guys where the narrative fits and the stats fits, and it's 35-1 right now.
Yeah, and a guy who gained a lot of confidence last season as well. You think about the way that the Seattle Seahawks team was talked about going into last season, and because of like everybody saying, well, how are you going to be able to trust a guy like Geno Smith? And then he ends up having this truly breakout year. 35-1 odds seems like a good number there. Do you like that range of guys in this market? Like, are you trying to find, I mean, last year, obviously chalk ends up coming through with Patrick Mahomes ultimately winning the award, and we know what to expect from those guys. But when you're looking for that perceived value, how far down the board, what range do you try to look at numbers for?
Anything, this to me is a pizza money bet, right? If I'm playing 35-1, if I'm playing 150-1, and I'll mention a guy in that range here, I'm not putting a full unit on it. I'm not staking my claim there. I actually had a pretty big bet on Patrick Mahomes last year because, let's be honest, Patrick Mahomes is going to win this 1 out of every 6 years he's in the NFL. So if you get 6-1 on him every year, you're going to end up making money because he is that good, and he will have consistent stats with Andy Reid as his quarterback, with the weapons that he currently has in Kansas City. But if you're looking for those longer prices, you really got to take small nibbles at it versus taking big shots. 2 of the other ones I like it at decent prices here. The first one, Jared Goff, which, okay, I get it. It's crazy. Jared Goff is the NFL MVP, but if the narrative around Detroit pans out, and they are one of the favorites in the NFC, and they end up going, let's call it 14-3, right? Let's call it 13-4, somewhere in that range, and they dominate that division, it's going to be largely on the offensive side of the football that they're putting up points. Last year, one of his best years ever, over 4,400 yards receiving, threw less than 10 picks last year, so falls under that as well. And again, adds Jahmyr Gibbs in the background, so has another weapon. If you want to get really crazy, what about Sam Darnold at 150-1? Now, are we sure Brock Purdy's good? Because I'm not sure Brock Purdy is good. I think the weapons around Brock Purdy were very good last year. He got lucky with some throws that should have been picked off, that got dropped. And Sam Darnold, well, I know, never seen the stats from him, did throw 7 touchdowns and 1 interceptions in the 5 starts he had at Carolina last year. And now he's going to elite offensive coordinator, elite head coach with elite weapons. I'm not positive Brock Purdy gets his job back. If this San Francisco team is undefeated when he's healthy, are you really just going to hand the reins over if Sam Darnold is playing at a high level? At 150-1, I'm willing to take a little bit of a flyer there at a big price.
That's fun. And I like the argument there. And I am a Brock Purdy believer. I am a fan. He showed me enough last year to prove that he deserves the job. And if he starts off the season well and healthy, I think that he should keep it. But if I had to choose between Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, well, I know what the San Francisco 49ers gave up to go up in the draft to get Trey Lance and how much they have really wanted him to work out for them. He hasn't. And if Sam Darnold can see George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey instead of ghosts, I don't hate that at all if he could come alive and really show what he could do, because he's not somebody that you can go place a bet in comeback player of the year, for example, because we all know if DeMar Hamlin gets on the field, that's going to be his job to win. So where are the angles that you can do? And why not throw $5 on Sam Darnold at 150-1? That's fun. That's going to be very, very profitable if he ends up being the starting quarterback for a good duration of the year. And look at the odds board for MVP as it sits right now. Trey Lance is a shorter shot than Brock Purdy already, and he's not the starter. So why not get that type of a value comparison from Trey Lance and him at this point? So I think it's really interesting. One of the big questions that our guy Zachary Cohen did pose in the NFL betting guide that's coming out tomorrow was Aaron Rodgers. Is he worth a look in his first season with the New York Jets? We know before the down year last season with the Packers and everything that went on there. You talk about the interceptions, the most he's had in what feels like forever in his career. But in a new situation, rejuvenated, it seems, very invested in this Jets team. He's got weapons all over the place as well. Seen him anywhere between the 14-1 and 18-1 range. I know it's the AFC, but it's still Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for me. But if you believe in the Jets, I don't hate the idea. If you think they're going to win the division, they have a logical shot of being the 1 or 2 seed. So you fill that criteria. You're in New York, so you have the narrative there. We know that Aaron Rodgers has a chip on his shoulder a lot of times. We saw that in the 2 MVP years that he won, where he was just pissed off and played better football because of it. You're going to get that same Aaron Rodgers in New York. The issue for me here is, are we sure right out of the gate he's going to be that special? And how many yards is he going to throw for with those running backs and that defense? I'm not sure he's able to compile the stats to do it, and I'm not sure they're able to win this division. And so when you combine those two, it's going to be very hard for him to be able to win MVP. Buffalo is still a very good football team. Miami is a good football team. Who knows what the Patriots are going to be this year now that they have a real offensive coordinator? That's a tough division to make a big-time case for someone like Aaron Rodgers to come out of and have a career-type year, which is what it's going to take to be able to win the MVP.
Yeah, but I wonder how much of the off-field stuff with Buffalo could impact them and their performance this year. Miami, do we trust that Tua Tagovailoa can stay healthy throughout the course of the year? I think that there could be some openings, maybe, for the Jets to climb their way up there. But, last 30 seconds here, are there names that you just cross out on this list? Because there were a few that I just X'd out and said, no way.
Any non-quarterback, I'm immediately crossing off. And then anybody who, like Russell Wilson, who I think the Denver Broncos could be a lot better, but they're not going to win the division. They're not going to be a 1 or 2 seed. So I don't see how someone like him is able to get the MVP either.
Yeah, I don't see that. I crossed off Deshaun Watson. I crossed off Justin Fields. I crossed off Tua. I know you're a believer in Miami, but I crossed him off. Don't yell at me.
I'm a fan, not a believer.
Okay, there we go.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.